August 27th, 1941. 0900 hours. The icy grip of the North Atlantic clutches at the hull of U-570 as it breaks the surface off the southern coast of Iceland. Waves crash against the conning tower, spraying salt water that freezes almost instantly in the biting wind. Captain Newton and Hans-Joachim Ramlow wipes the fog from his binoculars, scanning the horizon for any sign of Allied convoys, prey for his wolf pack. The air is thick with a metallic tang of diesel exhaust and the salty brine of the sea. His crew, a mix of fresh-faced recruits barely out of training, scramble onto the deck to vent the stale air from below. You can almost feel the tension in their shoulders, the false sense of security that comes with daylight after days submerged in the claustrophobic tube of steel. Ramlow barks orders in clipped German, his voice carrying over the hum of the engines. Schnell, check the batteries and prepare to dive if needed. This is their maiden patrol, U-570's first taste of war, and the young commander feels a weight of expectation from Admiral Donitz himself. The U-boat fleet has been ravaging Allied shipping, but here, in these remote waters, isolation breeds both opportunity and peril. The men light cigarettes, joking nervously about the Tommy pilots who rarely venture this far north. One sailor, a wiry engineer named Fritz, leans against the railing, gazing at the endless gray expanse. Little do they know, death circles above. High in the clouds, Squadron Leader James Thompson of the Royal Air Force Coastal Command grips the yoke of his Lockheed Hudson bomber. The twin engines drone steadily as he patrols a vast ocean grid, eyes peeled for the telltale wake of a submarine. His crew, navigator, gunner, and wireless operator, huddle in the cramped fuselage, bundled against the cold that seeps through the metal skin. Thompson, a veteran of the Battle of Britain, knows the stakes. Every U-boat spotted could save hundreds of lives on the convoy feeding Britain's war machine. The Hudson's ASV radar pings faintly, a blip on the scope that quickens his pulse. Contact bearing 180 degrees. The navigator calls out. Thompson banks the plane sharply, descending through the mist like a hawk spotting a rabbit. Below, on U-570, the first hint of trouble is a distant buzz, like an angry hornet. Ramlow freezes, his head snapping skyward. The crew follows his gaze, hearts pounding. There, emerging from the low clouds, a single aircraft, its IAF roundels gleaming ominously. Panic flickers in their eyes. This isn't supposed to happen. U-boats rule the depths. The surface is a gamble, but against one plane, they should dive, evade. But the Hudson is too close, too fast. Thompson throttles up, lining up his sights. The .303 machine guns in the nose turret chatter to life, tracers arcing toward the sub like fiery rain. Bullets rip into the water around U-570, then find their mark, pinging off the hull, splintering the deck. A sailor screams as a round grazes his arm, blood mixing with seawater. Ramlow shouts for the dive klaxon, but the crew hesitates, frozen in disbelief. These are not hardened warriors. Many have never faced fire. The Hudson swoops low, its shadow engulfing the sub, engines roaring like thunder. Another strafing pass, more chaos. The conning tower hatch jams in the frenzy, men scrambling below only to collide in the narrow passages. Smoke rises from a hit on the diesel exhaust. Ramlow's mind races. Fight back with a deck gun? Too late. The plane circles for another run, relentless. In that moment, as the Hudson bays down again, something breaks in the crew. Whispers of surrender ripple through the ranks. A white flag, improvised from a bedsheet, flutters up the periscope mast. Thompson pulls up, incredulous, radioing back to base. U-boat surrendering. Repeat, surrendering intact. But why? What terror could make these predators yield so quickly? The answer lies in the inexperience below, a crack that would soon fracture the entire U-boat campaign. The white flag snaps in the wind like a ghost against the steel gray of U-570's conning tower. Ramlow's hands tremble as he watches it ascend, his orders dissolving into the chaos below deck. The Hudson bomber circles once more. Its gun silent now, but the threat hangs heavy in the air. Thompson, peering down from the cockpit, can't believe his eyes. A U-boat, fully surfaced, yielding without a fight. He throttles back, signaling his gunner to hold fire. "We've got them," he mutters into the intercom, his Scottish brogue thick with adrenaline. The crew of the Hudson cheers faintly, but tension lingers. Is this a trap? A feint to lure them closer? On the sub, pandemonium reigns. Fritz, the engineer with a blooded arm, clutches his wound, eyes wide as saucers. "Captain, they're coming back," he yells, but Romlo knows it's over. The dive tanks are compromised from the strafing. Bullet holes riddle the pressure hull, hissing air like a dying beast. The crew, mostly green sailors from the Kriegsmarine's rush training programs, mill about in shock. One boy, barely 18, vomits over the side, his rifle forgotten on the deck. They've heard tales of U-boat aces like Preen or Kretschmer, sinking ships by the dozen. But this? A single plane turning hunters into the hunted? It's unthinkable. Romlo scans his men's faces. Fear, not defiance. He nods to the radio operator. Signal surrender. All hands on deck, unarmed. Thompson radios Reykjavik for reinforcements, but time is critical. The Hudson isn't equipped to board. They'll have to improvise. He drops low, buzzing the sub to keep them honest, while his wireless operator taps out coordinates. Miles away, HMS Trident, a British T-class submarine on patrol, picks up the frantic transmission. Lieutenant Commander Peter Caddy, her skipper, alters course immediately. "Full speed ahead," he orders, the diesels roaring to life. His crew, battle-hardened from the Norwegian campaigns, gears up for action, boarding parties armed with Sten guns and grappling hooks. You can picture the excitement in the narrow torpedo room. Finally, a chance to capture one of Donit's wolves alive. Hours tick by under the relentless Arctic sun. U-570 wallows in the swells, her crew lined up on deck like prisoners in a schoolyard. Romlo paces, his uniform soaked, mind racing through the repercussions. Defeat on their first patrol? The Führer would see it as cowardice. But the alternative, diving with damage, meant a watery grave. Whispers spread among the men. "The Tummies will treat us fair," one says. "Better than freezing in the Atlantic." Another glaze. "Traitors, all of us." The Hudson maintains vigil overhead, a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Thompson fuel gauge dips. He can't stay forever. Where are the reinforcements? At last, a periscope breaks the surface nearby. HMS Trident emerges, sleek and predatory. Caddy's voice booms over a megaphone. "Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance, and we open fire." Royal Navy sailors swarm across in a motorboat, pistols drawn, faces set in grim determination. They clamber aboard U-570, herding the Germans at gunpoint. Romlo hands over his side arm without a word, his eyes downcast. The boarders secure the hatches, marveling at the intact vessel. No scuttling charges set, no sabotage. Below deck, the air is fetid with sweat and fear, but the real treasure waits, charts, logs, and something glittering in the radio room. As the prisoners are transferred to Trident, one British rating pauses, staring at the Enigma machine still humming on its mount. "Blimey, sir," he whispers to his officer. "They've left the lot." Caddy's pulse quickens. This isn't just a capture, it's a coup. But as the tow lines are secured and U-570 is dragged toward Allied waters, a deeper question looms. How could such inexperience hand the Allies the keys to the Atlantic? The answer would soon echo through Bletchley Park, cracking codes and sealing fates. The Enigma machine sits there in the dim light of U-570's radio room, its rotors frozen mid-cipher, keys gleaming like forbidden jewels. Lieutenant Commander Caddy steps carefully down the ladder, his boots echoing on the metal grating, the air thick with the scent of oil and ozone. He approaches slowly, as if it might vanish like a mirage. "Secure this immediately," he orders his signals officer, a young lieutenant named Hargreaves, who nods with wide eyes. The device, compact, typewriter-like, with its plugboard and lamp panel, is no ordinary radio. It's the heart of knots in naval communications, a puzzle box that has eluded Allied cryptographers for years. Hargreaves disconnects it gingerly, wrapping it in oilcloth as a boarding party combs us up for more. Code books, cipher wheels, even the daily setting sheet scattered like confetti from panic. Above deck, the German crew huddles on HMS Trident's casing, wrists bound with rough cord, faces etched with a mix of relief and shame. Romlo stands apart, staring back at his forsaken commander's tow cables grown taut between the two submarines. The sea heaves gently now, the earliest storm of bullets of fading memory, but the sting of surrender burns. "Why didn't we scuttle her?" a grizzled petty officer mutters to Fritz, who winces through his bandaged arm. The captain hesitated. We all did. In truth, the crew's raw nerves had betrayed them, drills forgotten in the face of real fire, the deck gun unmanned, charges unset. As trident screws churn the water, pulling U-570 in her wake, Romlo catches a final glimpse of his boat, a sleek Type Visi now a trophy of war. You can sense his dismay, from predator to prize in mere minutes. The journey to Reykjavik drags on through the night, the convoy shadowed by the vigilant Hudson until it peels away for fuel. Thompson lands back at base, his report crackling over the wires to Coastal Command headquarters. U-boat captured intact, crew in custody, vital material secured. Word spreads like wildfire up the chain, to Admiral Sir Percy Noble at Western Approaches, then to the Admiralty in London. A miracle, one staff officer breathes in the smoke-filled war room. But it's no miracle, it's a fruit of relentless patrols and a dash of luck. U-570, battered but buoyant, wallows behind Trident, her secret slushing in the bilges. Caddy paces his bridge, aware of the dynamite he's towing. One rogue wave, one Luftwaffe spotter, and it could all be lost. Dawn breaks over Iceland's jagged coast as the pair limps into harbor, greeted by a flurry of activity. Tugs, intelligence officers, even a contingent from the Royal Navy's submarine savers. The Germans are marched ashore under guard, destined for interrogation camps where their stories will unravel further. Romlo, in a hushed debrief, admits the truth. We were green. The plane, it was too sudden. His crew, many conscripts from inland farms, had cracked under pressure, the U-boat school bravado evaporating in the Strafing's fury. Meanwhile, the Enigma and its trappings are whisked away by courier plane, bound for England's green fields and the shadowy huts of Bletchley Park. At Bletchley, the code breakers, brilliant minds like Alan Turing and Gordon Welshman, receive the whole with reverent hands. The machine powers up in Hut 8, its clicks echoing through the night as analysts pore over the captured settings. For months, they wrestle with naval Enigma traffic, blind to the daily keys that change like the tides. Now, with U-570's gifts, gaps fill in, convoy routes deciphered, Wolfpack orders exposed. Donit's happy time begins to sour as Allied escorts rear out around ambushes, depth charges finding their marks with eerie precision. But as the intelligence flows, a shadow falls. The Germans might suspect a leak. How long before they tighten the noose? In the hushed corridors of Bletchley Park, the air hums with the clatter of typewriters and the soft whir of bombers, those mechanical beasts cheering designed to crack the unbreakable. The captured Enigma from U-570 arrives like a holy relic, unpacked under dim lamps by a team of wrens and mathematicians, their faces pale from endless nights. Gordon Welshman adjusts his spectacles, feeding the daily keys into the machine, watching as gibberish transforms into clear German text. Convoy HX 144 rerouted. One decrypt reads, Wolfpack assemble at grid B36. The room erupts in quiet triumph. For the first time, they are reading Donit's playbook in real time. Hut 8 buzzies with activity, analysts cross-referencing U-boat positions with Allied shipping lanes. You can almost hear the collective exhale. The Atlantic, once a graveyard for merchantmen, now tilts ever so slightly in their favor. Back in Berlin, Admiral Karl Donitz pores over reports in his dimly lit bunker, the acrid smoke of his cigarette curling toward the low ceiling. Losses are mounting. U-boats vanishing without trace. Convoys slipping through nets that should be ironclad. Treachery, he growls to his aides, slamming a fist on the map table. Whispers of a compromised code circulate, but evidence is scant. The disappearance of U-570 registers as a blip, a failed patrol, perhaps sunk by depth charges. Romlo's name is struck from the rolls, branded a ghost or a traitor. Donitz orders heightened security, more complex keys, erratic transmissions. But the damage is done. The Allies are listening, rerouting ships around ambushes, deploying hunter-killer groups with pinpoint accuracy. In the months following, sinkings plummet, from hundreds of thousands of tons to mere fractions. The happy time fades into nightmare. Meanwhile, U-570 undergoes a metamorphosis in a Scottish dry dock, her Kriegsmarine markings scrubbed away under the watchful eyes of Royal Navy engineers. Renamed HMS Graf, she emerges as a British wolf in sheep's clothing, her torpedoes tested, her systems overhauled. Lieutenant Commander Jeffrey Yates takes command, a submariner with ice in his veins from the Mediterranean theater. She's a fine boat, he tells his crew during shakedown cruises, the hull vibrating with familiar German engineering. They prowl the Norwegian fjords on secret missions, gathering intel on enemy tactics, even simulating U-boat attacks to train Allied escorts. Graf becomes a living laboratory, her captured logs revealing vulnerabilities in Donnett's fleet, poor ventilation leading to crew fatigue, finicky periscopes jamming in cold waters. Every dive, every surfacing, chips away at the myth of U-boat invincibility. But shadows lengthen over this victory. Interrogations of Romlo and his men in Canadian POW camps yield more. Tales of rushed training, morale cracks under relentless Allied air cover. We were boys playing at war. One sailor confesses to his Mi-9 handler, his voice breaking. The intelligence cascades, new ASV radar frequencies adjusted, patrol patterns shifted. Yet Donitz adapts, introducing the 4-rotor Enigma, plunging Bletchley back into darkness for agonizing months. The Battle of the Atlantic rages on, a seesaw of technology and tenacity. As Graf slips beneath the waves on her first operational patrol, Yates wonders, how much blood will this single capture save? Or has it merely delayed the inevitable reckoning? The North Atlantic in 1943 is a different ocean. Convoys steam onward under skies patrolled by Liberators and Sunderlands, their centimetric radars sweeping the waves like invisible searchlights. U-boat commanders surface at their peril now, eyes darting upward for the speck that brings death from above. Donit's wolf pack scatter. Hunted rather than hunters, their radio chatter sparse and paranoid. In his Paris headquarters, the Admiral stares at the wall map, red pins marking fresh losses. U-459, U-461, U-462 gone in a single week during the slaughter of May 1943. The enemy knows our every move, he confides to his diary, the words heavy with suspicion. The 4-rotor Enigma has bought time, but the seed of doubt planted by U-570's capture has taken root. Crews hesitate, morale frays, and the once feared Grey Wolf begin to slink away from the fight. HMS Graf continues her strange career, slipping through fjords on clandestine missions, her British crew speaking in hushed tones to mimic German radio procedure. Lieutenant Commander Yates pushes her hard, testing tactics the Kriegsmarine never dared, shallow dives, aggressive surfacing drills. On one patrol off Norway, Graf shadows a German supply ship, gathering acoustic signatures that refine Allied sonar. She's teaching us how to kill her sisters, Yates remarks to his first officer as they watch a distant U-boat through the periscope, unaware of the ghost on its tail. But even this prize has limits. Mechanical gremlin from a rushed commissioning plagued the boat, and by late 1940, for she's relegated to training duties in the Clyde, her war over but her lessons enduring. In the interrogation rooms of Trent Park and Latimer House, Romlo and his men unknowingly spill more secrets under hidden microphones. British intelligence listens as a former Capitan Lieutenant recounts the panic of that August morning, the sudden roar, the bullets, the white flag. We were not ready, he admits to a fellow prisoner, the words captured on wax cylinders and transcribed for Coastal Command. These conversations reveal the human cost of Germany's frantic U-boat expansion. Boys rush through training, veterans spread thin, fear replacing fanaticism. The intelligence-shaped strategy, more air cover over the Bay of Biscay, hunter-killer groups roaming freely. By war's end, over 780 U-boats lie on the seabed, their crews lost to the depths they once ruled. Years later, in the quiet aftermath, the story of U-570 lingers like a whisper in naval lore. Thompson, the Hudson pilot, receives a Distinguished Flying Cross, his single strafing run credited with shortening the Atlantic campaign by months. Romlo survives a war in Canadian captivity, returning to a shattered Germany to rebuild in silence. The Enigma machine from his boat finds a home in a museum case, its rotors still forever, a monument to the day one aircraft and one panicked crew handed the Allies the keys to victory at sea. Thousands of merchant sailors reach port who otherwise would have perished. Convoy routes remain unbroken. Britain endures. And somewhere in the cold archives of history, a simple truth endures. The Battle of the Atlantic wasn't won by battleships or grand fleets, but by moments like this, raw terror on a windswept deck, a white flag in trembling hands, and the chain reaction that followed. One U-boat surrender didn't end the war. but it cracked the door open just wide enough for the light of Allied victory to pour through.